All right, how's everybody doing tonight? If someone could just give me a quick shout out in the chat to let me know that you can hear me, that would be great. We got some guests here tonight. We got Michael Bancroft and John's Longbox. We're just raiding over from John's channel right now. Now, I wanted to talk to, well, I was going to talk about great covers, but Michael, now that I have you here, I want to ask you a question. I was thinking about this and doing a video about it, possibly on Saturday. I was thinking about movies and why we love storytelling. And quite honestly, I thought to myself, thinking about a movie in the fact that you have to go watch a movie in a theater. It's a story that you have some input into, but not a whole lot. You got to sit there, you got to watch it, and you take it in a passive way. And I thought to myself, why do we love them so much? And then I thought, because it's the same thing as a dream.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I recently, a friend recently made an AI like trailer of my comic. And we were chatting about it afterwards, and I was like, I don't know what it is, but there's something about seeing it visually with your eyes and hearing it now, the whole thing, with people that look real enough, that just, it gets inside somewhere in a way that doesn't. Maybe it is dreams. Yeah, because I've had dreams that are even more realistic than movies. Because obviously you're in the first person.
A lot of my dreams, like really long, they're almost a movie in itself, and I'm not in them at all. I'm just sitting back watching, and it just struck me. I couldn't believe it. I never thought of it before, because I went to the movies to see Mission Impossible just a couple of weeks ago, and I experienced something I haven't experienced in a while because I haven't been going to the movies. But my mind started to work in the background on, I wasn't on things that I should have been thinking about every once in a while. It just said not going to think about it anymore, like what kind of shoes to buy or something like that, right? And I thought to myself,
I keep having dreams of me and RJ were in a bathtub. There's only one wash rag. I don't know. It's disturbing, and I don't.
No one wants to hear those dreams.
But I was thinking about it because the fact that you're watching stuff right now, let's say on YouTube, or you have your Netflix, whatever else, you can click that off really quickly. You can move it over. You go to the movies, you're stuck. Right? You're stuck for 2 hours at least. And it's the same thing with a dream. It's like you're taking it in, and your suspension of disbelief is there, because I've been in so many dreams where my house is not my house, but it is my house in the dream, and I have no questions about it whatsoever. Right? Mm-hmm. It just clicks in. I was thinking about it, doing an entire video on it Saturday, if I could pull enough of it together. But you're the dream expert, so I thought I'd ask you since I have you here.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously storytelling is probably the most uniquely human thing. There's no other thing that tells stories like that. People will say that about art as well, but there might be some animals that actually make some kind of art in some way. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? It's like it's so innate to us. And then we all have these nightly movies in a way going on inside our head. So it's a good, I'd never thought about it like that before.
Are your dreams enjoyable?
It can be. Yeah. I mean, I have the same thing, like where I'll go months and months where I live in a different house in my dream,
like the same house every night, like your dreams have continuity with the night before.
Oh yeah. It's wow. Like, oh yeah, I'm back here, and I'm just completely accept it.
Have you ever had a dream where you remember an old dream that you didn't remember when you were awake?
Yeah, I try to find a name for that phenomena where you have friends or history or connections that only exist in dreams. And sometimes they can go on for years, and you go back and you haven't seen someone that doesn't exist. They only exist in your dream, and you're like happy to see them again, and you have emotions, and it's all very real, but it only exists in your psyche. And I've been looking for a name for that so I can look at some research on it, but I can't find it anywhere.
I can remember saw a dream like that. Like it was a dream that I had with me in it. And I met this girl who was my old girlfriend, and I had not seen her in so long and all these things. And we had a big old long conversation, and I woke up and it's like, I have no idea who that woman was.
Do you ever have a dream and you just like, me and that guy, what guy was that? And you think is it Ed Asner? You try to think about what you watched last night. we'll book you. And then like a week later, you go to the bank and it's the teller from the bank. I'm like, I haven't seen this guy in 6 months, and now he's in my dream, like I as an important character. You know, it doesn't even
The
have
weird thing is when you dream about something in your dream and then you find it in real life and you haven't been there before, and that's when you freak the hell out and you're like, oh my god. And you start questioning reality.
Now, has
that
this ever happened to you? I've been talking about this because this happened 3 times to me now in the past, I'd say 3 months. I woke up a couple of weeks ago with 2 fully formed stories from my dreams. You know, one of them was the Printer's Devil, that it's being drawn right now by Stippling Vaughn. And the other one was the Sleeper Agent, which is being drawn by Luke Stone. I woke up. I thought about it all day. I came home. I wrote it out. Like usually I do like plot points, you know, but I just started writing the script because they were fully formed in my dreams. And then last night I just woke up, you know, last night I dreamt it. So I woke up this morning with another story that I was just telling Brian Bow about. I'm like, you got first on this. So like 3 fully formed stories just out of dreams. Normally I'm thinking, I want to plot this. I need this to happen. But this is, you know, it's never happened before until I started doing comics. I wonder if it's, you know, a side effect of writing a lot now, because I am writing more than I've ever been in my life because I'm trying to get comics out.
The Inception thing where it takes the dream and it gets larger and larger in time wise is something that happened to me at one point, because my novel manuscript, which is really a full novel, and it's been pared down from like 600 pages, is basically 1/3 of a dream I had at one point, because it was supposed to be a trilogy of novels, right? And I'm just saying, I could write 3 novels off of one dream I had because it was that expansive during the time that I was going through the entire thing at one night.
Yeah, I've had dreams a bit like that, where it's like that episode in Star Trek where Picard, you know, gets the flute and lives the whole life and everything.
The inner light.
And the inner light. And yeah, by the end of it, it's so epic and it's so expansive, and you feel so emotional, and you're like, oh my god, it's coming to an end. It's like you're finishing Lord of the Rings or something. But you know, the feelings are there and the experience is there for me. But whenever I've tried to write them down, it's just been like stream of consciousness, bizarre nothing. Just like, like this doesn't make any sense. This wouldn't mean anything to anyone else because it's just a jumble of nonsense. But to me, it meant the world at the time.
Quick break here. We have a new person in the chat, Will Helmus. He's asking where he should start with my books. The first book is Thomas Valiant #1. You can still get it at the Valiant Heroes over at Indiegogo. If you order the Valiant Heroes, which is basically the second book, you can also tag on Thomas Valiant while you're there. And since we're talking about it and we're talking about dreams, Michael, why don't you plug your book as well? And John, yours after that.
Yep, my book is called The Lucent, and everything Lucent is available over at thelucentcomic.com. I've got 2 books up so far, 1 and 2 in the series, as well as some trading cards that have one-shot stories on the back of them. I'm about to launch in 16 days my first side story from the series. So it's in continuity. It's set 6 months. It's like a prequel. Before the main story, and yeah, that's going live in 16 days. It all happens. I do everything through my site, so I don't use any crowdfunding sites or anything like that. We'll do pre-orders and stuff on my site. Yeah, I did try. I was doing Kickstarter a little bit because Indiegogo just wasn't working for me. I was going to get off that. I would go to Fund My Comic, but I already have that for myself. I'm a big supporter of Fund My Comic, obviously, but like I should have built my own thing.
Yeah, nobody's gonna begrudge you for using your own site. I mean, you know, I'm sure Luke understands too.
This is Michael's site we have here, and you'll notice Michael is a big fan of green.
And all my new stuff is green too, but I'm starting to add a bit more red in. You know, I know something about it. I like it.
And what about yours, John? I'll see if I can pull yours up as well.
Oh, you want me to send you the link?
I think I have the link, but you tell us about your book while I do that.
It's right in the private chat if you want to click on it.
Okay, yeah, there it is.
My comic is called Heroic Tales. It's it's 2 stories in every issue, 2 complete stories. It's a superhero world inspired by my love of a superhero role-playing game called Villains and Vigilantes. And it's also like a return to like Bronze Age Marvel DC comics. So I call it blue sky superhero adventures, meaning the good guys are good, the bad guys are bad, and originally it was supposed to be every issue was going to be a different character, but people tended to like my first character, the Patriarch. Now, the Patriarch is this is Mary Sue that you're looking at. I'll talk about her since she's there, but Mary Sue is the perfect girl, and being perfect is not all that it's cracked up to be. Of course, I'm goofing on the literary trope of the Mary Sue, meaning but she does have a character arc. She starts out perfect in the eyes of her grandmother. So she's a good girl. She's religious. She doesn't sleep around. She's got PhDs at the age of 22. She's wealthy and she's pretty. And then she goes off to the big city to get a job, and she doesn't realize it, but she's working for a supervillain. And what happens? Through an accident, she gets the powers to rearrange reality. So the perfect girl gets almighty powers, and it's, as you'll see, it's going to ruin her life. So yeah, I really love this character. It was a hard sell, and Renzo just started drawing it because he was like, "I like John's paper," but by the end he was like, "I want more Mary Sue." A lot of people have read it, and they said it's an excellent. RJ, you read it already, right?
No, I haven't got my copy yet.
Oh, I thought I sent you a file. I'll send you a file. And then this is the Patriarch. I made the Patriarch because I'm so tired of fathers getting made fun of and goofed on and whatever. So the Patriarch is a father figure. He's happily married. He loves his wife. He loves his 7 children, and he loves his city, and he protects his city. He's not an avenging superhero. He's a protecting superhero. So one of his techniques is he'll come in and try to de-escalate. A father doesn't just walk into your room and start beating you. A father comes in and goes, "Why are you doing that, Michael? Michael, you got to calm down." Things like that. So it's an homage to all the fathers. It's an homage to Superman, my favorite character, and I just love this artwork, and Daniel's colors are so good. There's foreshadowing. Every issue is complete. You don't need to buy every issue. I would love it if you did, because each issue funds the next issue. And my next campaign is going to be the Patriarch #1, the origin of the Patriarch, because I didn't tell his origin because I didn't think people would be interested in the origin of a brand new character. But people tended to take a liking to him. So next issue is like a 40-page comic just of all the Patriarch. I love this cover. This is Renzo drew the Patriarch versus the Subterranean. He is the creature that lives in the caverns below Science City. I'm trying to set up that there's something going on all over the world. And,
Sorry, guys, I got to bounce.
Okay.
I got another stream I got to do. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming over,
out with you guys.
Thanks, Michael. Good.
I'll see you soon.
Looking forward to your next book.
Thank you, man. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
So this is my campaign. You can get T-shirts. And I just want to stress that every issue is 2 complete stories. I think it's a big ask, making people wait months, if not years, in between issues. It's $10. I honestly think it's the best value in crowdfunding right now, and the art is gorgeous. The art that you're seeing is the art inside the comic. It's Renzo. Daniel colors the Patriarch. Oscar colors everything else. Anything that's not the Patriarch, Oscar's going to be coloring. So Oscar will be doing a lot of coloring. He's so talented. And right here, excuse me, you could get issue 1 and issue 2 bundle. And then you could pick, because I got 5 varied covers. I went a little crazy with the first issue, but you only get 1 chance to make your first issue. So it's just a labor of love. I don't know what else to say. Just, please consider backing Heroic Tales. I got so many stories to tell.
Since we were supposed to, we keep on getting off track, but John and I get off track a lot. So if you're used to our streams, you will be used to the fact that we're get very off track. We're talking about great covers. Here would be the first issues of Fantastic Four that I would have. And I love those covers. I used to, before I knew what the actual comics were worth, I had these up on my wall after I bought them. I bought them from a comic shop, obviously, not off the spinner rack. It's a little too early for me, that's to say the least. But yeah, we're talking about great covers. I love these two covers right here. Maybe it's just because they were the first Fantastic Four, early Fantastic Four that I had.
Oh yeah, that pays. Like I always say, everybody always remembers your first girlfriend. You remember your first car. And if you're a comic book guy, Matt Barr and I talk about this a lot. You remember your first comic, and you can talk about it for hours. You know, so whenever I ask people, "Oh, what was your favorite? What was your first comic?" If they hem and haw, they're not really comic book people. You know, every one of us watching this stream right now could talk for an hour about their first comic.
Here's one thing we were talking about just on your stream, John, about Shadow and Light, and also about the fact that we had a whole bunch of Mexican covers that we're looking at from reprints of comics in Marvel Comics in Mexico and South America. But look at these two covers right here. See how they use black and white in the background? There is absolutely no background, but it doesn't look like there's no background because of the black and white.
Well, that issue 60 with Dr. Doom, it to me, they're in the sky. They're on mountain peaks. You know what I mean? That's what that tells me. You know, and I don't know if that's what they were, but I do think that that's what they were going for. But look at that. You got the Human Torch flying between those two land masses. You know, the bad, like they've got to be on a mountain peak. So it's kind of brilliant. It was Jack Kirby's like, I'm going to put him in a mountain peak. I don't have to draw a background. You know, it works so good. And that other one, where are they fighting? Who knows? Who cares? You know, it just in a dark room. Yeah. I thought there was blue streaks, but I realized that's the Invisible Woman's arms. So yeah, where are they fighting? In the subway?
That's one of the things. I love my colorist. He does great work, but he's always trying to put in backgrounds of sky and things like that. And I was like, no. And especially for the Crown of the Destroyer, it's like, I want basically what is it? Not the haiku trilogy, anyways, there was a different colorist that went in those Conan, and he used very light colors for the backgrounds because Conan usually used heavy colors for backgrounds for night skies and things like that. But the trilogy that I'm talking about used whites and yellows and a lot of very light oranges. And I was like, that's what we want, right? There's a whole bunch of, break it up, first of all, but you can use white. I keep on trying to tell him, you can use white as a background in a panel. I got no problem with that. You don't have to color anything, right? Use it, especially if we're in the outside and, you know, it's a sunny day or things like that.
I like what Vaz says over here. The good old times where the covers were mostly done by the artist that did the interior art. Yeah, it's funny that you said that, because when I first started working with Renzo, he asked me, he's like, can I do the cover? And I was like, of course. Like I didn't even consider anybody else was going to do the cover, you know, because Renzo goes, I never get to do the covers. So I was like, of course, you know. So I told him I was going to have other people do variant covers, but Renzo always does the cover because I think that's important. And I also told him I want the cover to like represent what's going on in the issue. You know, like I don't want to have the patriarch melting like a Salvador Dali clock, and then inside has nothing to do with that. Although that would be a good cover. But yeah, you got these. Look at that. Look at that Blastar cover. It's all red. Why is it all red? Doesn't matter. It's all red because of it's threatening. It's dangerous.
Exactly. That's one of the things. I literally, before I did Crown the Destroyer, went back to my Conan collection from Marvel and started reading it to see if I could pick out patterns from John Buscema. One of the things that his colorist did was to ensure that once a page, there was a red panel. Once a page, there was almost every page, there was one red panel. And they always put the red panel on something where there wasn't a whole, like this Blastar, there's a whole bunch of things going on at once, and there's a whole lot of action. They got the red in the background. But for a lot of the old Conan, which I carried over to Crown the Destroyer, if you have a panel where, say, someone is shouting and there's supposed to be action, but you don't actually see action, it's a dramatic action, red is the background.
Yeah. And look at the other cover. Same thing. It's black. Where are they? Don't matter. And it's also the Sandman. I wonder if the Sandman needs a black background. All that.
I
yellow.
honestly thought Sandman, because I was reading these books, Sandman was a Fantastic Four villain instead of a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah, he fought, and yeah, he had that crazy Jack Kirby costume. So I thought they were two different characters. The Steve Ditko one had the green and black striped shirt, and then the Kirby one had that crazy, costume that Kirby did. So I thought there were two different Sandmans. Just like I
First
thought.
comic says, my first comic was Uncle Scrooge number 193. My first X-Men was Uncanny X-Men 207.
There you go. See? Oops, it was actually X-Men 205. 205 was the first X-Men comic I didn't get because I quit X-Men at 204. I was just so tired of the X-Men whining and complaining. I've since bought them all back because I'm a crazy person, but I officially quit monthly collecting the X-Men at 204.
You're not so much a crazy person, John. I can remember there was a show on a long time ago in the 90s. It's Millennium, right? And I missed an episode, and this was before you had TiVo or anything like that. I missed an episode, and I said, okay, I can't watch the rest of the season until I see that episode. And I still have not seen that episode yet.
Yeah,
I just refuse to watch it.
I one of the things that drives me nuts, I got this stack of back issues over here, and like I'll buy like a new comic, and then I'll read the new comic, and then later on I'll find that there was the issue before still in the stack, just buried. I'm like, so I just read this out of order. Oh my God, that drives me nuts. It gives me, more agita than it should. First world problems. Look at that Cocoon. Just white background. Look at that.
This is the first issue of him, which is Warlock, where this is the actual version, origin of Warlock, if anybody's wondering, the Adam Warlock.
Yep. What lurks behind the beehive? It's a mystery of the year. In case you were wondering, it's a mystery of the year. We're not going to know. It's a mystery. I love all that hyperbole.
I had to look this up. I just had to look this up. Let's see. I got to stop the screen here and present new screen. Give me 2 seconds.
Sorry. Somebody asked me about they saw. Yeah, JDA covered me in a video today. And because of that, I've been getting messages all day long. So forgive me for getting distracted. I can't help it. Every time my phone makes a message.
If it was X-Men 205, we got X-Men 205 right up there. And I have to say, Perth, that is an amazing book, Barry Windsor Smith. I said this last week on one of my streams. It was the fact that I want to do a book with one of my characters, which is Pulse, based off of this book, because I started a story. What I usually do is I start a story that has a different ending from a story I already know, and then I go back and write the beginning, and it becomes a whole separate story. But this book, I agree with you. This is one of the best X-Men books ever.
It's funny because I see these covers now, and I'm like, oh, the good old days, and it's like, oh, this is kind of like after I quit reading the X-Men, but I know I'm like the old fogey because other people like the golden age of X-Men didn't even happen yet, like the Mutant Massacre and Archangel and Age of Apocalypse. That's still 50 issues away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And for me, that was like, oh man, I'm tired of the X-Men. All they do is complain.
That's funny because you got John Romita Jr. here coming up.
Yep.
Again, classic issues, classic covers, especially that Wolverine cover 207 has been reprinted so many times.
I hated that Colossus costume.
I never liked Nimrod as a character, just to say.
Yeah, it was she was too powerful.
Also, we got 210 here. I actually use this pose for a reprint of one of the panels in Thomas Valiant, which Renzo drew my characters in, because I just loved it so much. And again, we're going back to who does? It's Barry Windsor Smith that does 212, and you got Alan Davis doing 213. This is amazing stuff. I actually this is one of the books that I used to redraw, which would be 213 when I was a kid. I loved Alan Davis.
Yeah.
Let's see. I never actually gave a shout out to everybody in the comments. I should do that
Oh, good.
right now. Let's say Vaz is here. Will Helmus, thank you very much for showing up. We got Pedro here. George is here. Zach Dan has given a blessing to us. Manny is here. Let's quickly go through. Steven is here as well. Perth Comics is here. Of course, George is here. Heroinberg is here. I'm not sure if we have a new chat member or not.
Never seen that name.
Welcome. Welcome to the chat. Who else we got? We got a whole lot of regulars here. Pedro is here, and Paulus is here. Paulus says he honestly does not remember his first comic. Well, some of us, I can remember a lot of things about comics. I actually can tell you things about what is happening in the world by what comic was coming out that month.
Yep.
Tony is here. Pedro is here.
Hey, Tony, how you doing, Tony? It's funny that you said that because there's certain world events that I tied to the comics that came out, like Fantastic Four 202. I read that in the hospital while my mom was giving birth to my little brother. So I'll always remember that. So Quasimodo, who appeared in Fantastic Four 2, reminds me of my brother. Think of that as you will. Yeah.
Let's go down. Oh yeah, more Alan Davis stuff here. 214. Is that Alan Davis or is that Mark Silvestri? I can't even.
The 214.
Yeah, I think that's Alan Davis. Yeah, because it's 214, 213, 214, 215 are all Alan Davis, but I don't know who's inking.
Yeah, the inking is changing it a lot, and I gotta say, I didn't mind Crimson Crusader. Stonewall didn't bother, but Super Saber, I've always hated. Their name makes no sense.
And I remember from that issue, I was like, because Storm actually puts a string across the road that he's running down in order to decapitate him. And at the last moment, she doesn't do it. I was thinking, that would have been good.
Yeah, but you can't cross that line. That's Barry Windsor Smith, right?
Yeah, Barry Windsor, and you got Walter Simonson there in 217. Which is one of the, again, key issues for Dazzler, if anybody wants a key issue for Dazzler, because it's basically a Dazzler one-shot, and she learns how to use her powers in a completely different way, which later gets stolen by a bishop in one of the later John Romita Jr. ones, probably in the 300s. But anyways, she gets buried because Juggernaut thinks he killed her. Spoilers. And because she's used so much for power, and she learns how to basically use the smallest sound in order to build her powers up, because her powers are based on turning sound into light.
Right. I always thought Dazzler was like, they didn't know what to do with her. There's a couple of Marvel like Cloak and Dagger, Dazzler, Moon Knight for the longest time. They just didn't know what to, Ghost Rider. If you read those early Ghost Riders, every issue was almost like they were reimagining him. But Dazzler really suffered. I think around here she kind of fell into a stride.
Yeah. 218 again is another cover I used to try to redraw, but I always got the perspective wrong. Who is the artist for 219 on the right hand side, John? I'm sorry, but never liked him as an artist, especially when he took over New Mutants.
I can't think of offhand. Because this is one of those comics I bought in a batch. So I did, like when I got the monthly, I would peruse them and look them over again. Because back then, I had plenty of time to read all my weekly comics, and then I'd be like, I'm going to read it again. Blevins, somebody says. Perth says it's Blevins on the right.
Could be. So, I don't remember.
Unfortunately, these are the comics that I didn't read over and over and over again.
These are the main, books that because some of these.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Some of these were stuff that I bought, after getting into X-Men, and then went back and bought them. But these ones here that we're looking at now, these are me buying them off the spinner rack, buying them from my comic shop. Definitely making sure I got the best copy of every last one.
I never liked that punk rock Storm. I always thought like the original look for Storm was just so regal and beautiful. It's like drawing a mustache on the Mona Lisa. I can understand. Like I kind of liked why they did it, because she left Earth for a while, and with her powers being in tune to the Earth, it jarred her. But she should have healed and came back by now. reconnected to the earth.
Wow, George brings up a really good point. He says, I like Dazzler because she's the only person who can beat Black Bolt. That would be something to see.
Oh, wow. Nah, that is interesting. That is interesting. Oh, Michael Bancroft was. I wanted to. I was trying to be polite because you know how I talk too much sometimes, RJ. So I was trying, but I woke up the other day and I had this real vivid dream that I was being interviewed to write for the Fantastic Four, and I was just laying out like my plot ideas, and I woke up. I was like, these are good ideas, for the Fantastic Four, but one of them was unstable molecules. To me as a kid, I was like, wouldn't unstable molecules be radioactive? So I was thinking, what if like China or the Soviet Union or Dr. Doom or one of those imaginary countries, they started manufacturing cheap unstable molecules, and it was causing mutations and cancer in people who wore these outfits. So that was one of my Fantastic Four plots. What do you think of that?
That actually reminds me. Well, I'm going in a different direction when you talk about it, John. But quite honestly, unstable molecules are the exact opposite of what they do with manga, because unstable molecules is basically we have to figure out a way that we can keep our superheroes clothed, and so they don't get torn off every time they go into a battle or something like that.
Right.
And so the whole Hulk thing, but it's the exact opposite you get in anime and manga. It's like, what can we do to make sure this character's clothes fly off and they're as scantily clad as possible? George says there was an issue where Dazzler fights Black Bolt. I was not aware of that. But
I was thinking of also, Jeff Bezos just put all those women in a rocket ship.
Oh yeah.
So in the Fantastic Four world, what if some billionaire put him and all of his like hanger-on or gold digger girlfriends in a rocket, and they all got Fantastic Four powers? So it made these like space travel tourists like, pay me $1 billion, you'll go up in space, you'll get superpowers, like as a little cottage industry. I think that would be a topical Fantastic Four story. Guys, Marvel, I'm sitting right here. And I don't want to go to the construction site anymore, guys.
222 on the left is another cover I would redraw. Sometimes I love Mark Silvestri because when I was learning to draw at first, his pencil-like style that he would use is something that I could really get behind and make it easier to draw.
Yeah, these are good covers. I love that serpent.
That 223 on the right hand side, it's very much looks like a Conan the Barbarian cover. And then we get into Follow the Mutants, which is 225, I do believe. Yep.
Yeah. I bought these and like binged read them. Excuse me.
And
again, what happens with the UFOs? Yeah, it happened with the Red Ghost and it happened with the UFOs. But now, like, just imagine, like it's now like a touristy thing. Like, Jeff Bezos is going to fly you up to get superpowers. Like, would the Fantastic Four get involved? Is it illegal to go and fly and get superpowers? And don't you think the Russians and the Chinese would be launching people in ships like every third week just to get super soldiers?
It would be really, honestly, I'm sure in a not very good, let's say one-shot world, because it'd probably blow up, you'd have a country like China or something like that doing that. But every time they would come down, the characters, whoever got superpowers, would just go out of control and blow up like a nuclear bomb.
That's one of the reasons in my Heroic Tales world, you'll see why I didn't tell the Patriarch's origin, because he has his real origin, how he really got his powers, and then they have the government cover up because the government doesn't want people to pursue superpowers unless they have control over it. I think that would be like realistic, don't you think? If everybody knew, I could just irradiate a spider and get some cool spider powers, so there would be like a black market factory of like giving people superpowers.
Perth, you're so right. It says X-Men bashing the Reavers and kicking them out of the Outback town was so good. Literally, this cover right here is the basis of what I told my cover artist to do for Thomas Valley #1. I said, give me something like that. Which you'll notice, I do a lot of homage stuff with Thomas Valley #1.
It's funny. I just told Renzo, do whatever you want. Like I figure the cover is, it's the artist. So just, you read the script, you drew the whole comic. What do you think works? And I love what Renzo came up with. And Pat Broderick did the same thing. Mike Gustovich just asked if he could draw the bad guy because he loved the bad guy. So that's why I hid that comic for so long. I didn't want to reveal. And then Michael T. Gilbert just told me what he was going to do. That broke my rule. That the Michael T. Gilbert cover it didn't happen in the comic, but who am I to argue with Michael T. Gilbert?
I remember.
Where are they in that first one?
What's that?
That one with what long shot? Like we were talking about the background. It's just red and then a pile of treasure. Like
that book brings out part of Longshot's powers that got completely forgotten about and no one ever really used except for Silvestri in the Outback, and that was it. It's like cryptocognition. He could touch things and tell the entire history of them.
Oh, like a post-cognition or something. Yeah, cool. I forgot he had that in his origin story, or did they just?
No, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I remember this issue being the one where they brought it out completely. And they basically found a whole bunch of treasure in the Reavers town that they'd taken over. And so they decided to return it all to everybody, and they could do so because Longshot was able to tell where each piece came from.
Oh, okay. I forget. Oh, and that next issue, that I guess they're fighting in limbo because there's Sim and Alanya. I guess Alanya Rasputin Magic now is like the it girl, because it just seems like on Twitter, like every other fan art is of Magic.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Let me put it this way, John.
I have no problem with Magic. It's just funny how like she is now the hot thing at Marvel.
Remember, you were asking me a couple of weeks ago or last week, was there ever a character that I thought people were getting into and I said, no, that's my character, you people go away? Magic would be that.
Oh really? That's your character? I'm sorry, RJ, she's popular now.
I used to have, I'm gonna look up, let's see, you talk for a minute. I'm gonna look up a poster that I had on my wall of her back in 1984.
Zach10 says, John, why are all my top villains men? Just teasing. It's funny that you should say that, because just today I was running through a story and I'm like, people are going to get mad at me because I have a lot of female villains. So there's some teasers for some future stories. But like just today, I was talking with Marcus, and Marcus is drawing the Public Eye character for me. And I gave him a short story, like the introduction of the character. Then I gave him like a 2-page that I realized I can't show that for a little bit because of it has a developing relationship of Poinsettia and Public Eye, so that'll have to go down. But I have a second story now that I just thought of with a femme fatale female villain, and then who else do I have? The Patriarch has two female villains in Patriarch #1. It also has a male villain. But I was just like, people are going to accuse me of being like misogynist because I have so many female villains. But I don't know. And one person already, I showed them Heroic Tales #1, and then I showed them a preview of Heroic Tales #2, and this woman said, do you have a problem with women? I'm like, what? He says, the two women in your comics have scars. And I was like, oh yeah, the Patriarch's wife has burns, and Mary Sue has a scar on her face. And I'm just like, being in a superhero world is dangerous. But she didn't want to talk to me anymore. Okay, here's the poster.
This is the poster that was, my entire 4 walls of my room were covered with posters, but this one was basically next to my bed. This is the Magic poster from, this is like 1980 or something. I can't remember, 1986. Who drew this? I don't remember.
It looks like a mix between Mike Kaluta and P. Craig Russell, but I can't figure out.
Mike Kaluta, yep.
Oh, it is Mike Kaluta. There you go. Look at
1985, 1985.
That is cool. I've never seen that. I never saw that. That is so cool. Do you remember Magic? It like every time she used her powers, that armor was growing.
Yes.
And then they dropped that. Like she was turning into like Magic Colossus.
It because it ran itself out in the double issue of New Mutants where they go to Asgard, and basically the Enchantress pulled the entire thing out of her to make her into basically dark magic, which she had like the devil horns and the goat feet and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was creepy. Yeah.
But yeah, I love. This is one of the things working with, especially working with Mike Gustovich. It's like Mike Gustovich did the inking for the original New Mutants, and the original New Mutants was something that I got into because I can remember all the guys. We had a big lawn. All the guys at the entire neighborhood were playing baseball on our front yard because my mother made a baseball diamond out of it. And cool. I could not go out and play with them because I had pink eye as a kid. And she was like, nope, you can't go out with them. You can't play. So I sat in there. They were all out playing baseball on this beautiful summer day. And all I had was New Mutant comics because it just came out to read, like the first 3 issues, I think it was.
I'm picturing poor little baby RJ just sitting there holding a comic, but looking out the window as everybody's playing baseball. Heroinberg says, John, could the Patriarch be seduced by a femme fatale villain the way it is with Black Cat and Catwoman, or is he too straight laced? Read Patriarch #1, but that's all I'm going to say. Read Patriarch #1. That's going to be my next crowdfund campaign. Renzo he'll be starting the art on that next week. Yeah, look at all these covers. Yeah, I always like that Wolverine cover.
There's another one that I think, well, it hasn't got that much homage done to it, but there was enough that have been done with that cover. So these are classic covers, like X-Men classic. That was, yeah, we get into, what's the heck's the name of that country where Kenosha, where everybody.
Kenosha, yeah, it's yeah. Where all the mutants are slaves?
Yes.
Yeah.
What else we got here? I'm going to go down to the end. Wait a minute. Let's see. Talk about some more beautiful covers. And then we got Goblin Queen.
Is this the first appearance of Mr. Sinister?
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I think the first appearance of Mr. Sinister might have been in X-Force instead of X-Men.
Okay,
because the whole point was that he was the one who ran the orphanage where Cyclops and Havok went to after their parents died, and he was experimenting on them and all that kind of stuff. I'm not entirely sure about that, though.
Just as a plug, on Friday 8:30 on It's Clobbered Time, we're going to have Mr. Sinister versus the High Evolutionary. So come on in and pitch for your favorite guy, or who you just honestly think is more powerful. See, now these covers, I vaguely remember them because at this point I was just reading a comic, going to the next comic, read, and I never went back. Yeah,
the Leonardi stuff I never liked. I just his artwork just never got me. But again, you got the Silvestri. This again, beautiful stuff, and this is some of the. I think Silvestri is one of the unsung heroes of X-Men. Everybody talks about John Byrne and a lot of other classic like Chris Claremont, but Mark Silvestri really made that storyline of Outback X-Men, if you ask me.
Sean Green says first appearance. Okay, so that was the first appearance of Mr. Sinister.
Could have been.
Cool. I'll take your word for it because, like I said, I just don't have the memory of these comics because I like if I binge watch a show, like I binge watch Breaking Bad. Like every night I watched 2 or 3 episodes until it was over, and I remember enjoying it. I remember some key points, but I don't remember like the buildup. But like other shows that I watched once a week, like my wife and I watched Heroes, the first 2 seasons, once a week. I remember everything about them. I thought about them for a week, you know. So I try not to binge watch shows that I know I'm gonna like, and binge reading comics that I know I'm gonna like.
I'm actually just going through some covers here in the background. We'll switch over from one to the other because we wanted to talk about great covers this stream. So I want to put up some other great covers. Let's see here. I apologize for everyone. Like I say, almost every stream, I have Amish levels of technical skill.
Oh, if anybody was watching that stream, I sent Michael Bancroft the wrong invitation like 4 times. Oh, look at these old Avengers. These I remember. I always, the Resurrection Store with the Beast, I always laughed at that. Like, just imagine instead of the Resurrection Store, it's a disco ball and they're all kind of dancing. It doesn't take that much editing in your mind to change it. Yeah, this was a low point in the Avengers, if you ask me. Like Avengers 150 to 200, excellent. And then they stumbled for a while.
True enough, yeah, because 200, yes. I think we're getting rid of George Perez at that point.
Yeah. 200, I do admit, I am the most politically correct guy on the planet, and I admit that issue 200 is kind of creepy. But look at that cover, though. Look at the way everybody looks. You know.
I got to admit, you're right, John. These are not a lot of the Avengers comics. I'm not like you. I don't actually have every issue of everything, but a lot of these I don't have, and I don't have them because they weren't the best books in the world. But
yeah,
I am reading these ones right now.
Yeah, it started it started to get really good over here. It you know, they had like a 10 issue lull or so, like a year of bad stuff. But look at this, you know, Captain Marvel. I love that cover, 226 Black Knight with that monster. Doesn't that look like it should have been a Defenders comic instead of Defenders always had a weird aesthetic to it. Like it was like the fringe of Marvel. Like, you know, like there was Marvel comics, there was the X-Men. X-Men had their own little corner. You know, the Fantastic Four were front and center. And then like a couple of blocks to the left were the Defenders.
I remember, yeah, because like Gargoyle, it's like, why would you put that character in anything? Yeah. Let's see if I can pull up some of those.
The Avengers versus the Barrier.
I can't remember if it was Jim Shooter that was writing at the time or not during those issues. I don't think it was. I think Jim Shooter did early 200s and then got replaced around 230 or so. And of course, Star Fox, which is a character that's completely demolished now.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let's see.
Time Lord says, I would have Captain Britain, Megan, Nightcrawler, Shadowcat, Phoenix, Rachel Summers, Lockheed, and Widget get targeted by the UK's government because they were trying to stop sex trafficking. Can you elaborate on that comment? Like the you know, Excalibur were trying to stop it, or they were trying to. The government was trying to stop it?
He's probably talking about if he would write Excalibur. He was saying something earlier about it.
Oh, okay. Look at these Defenders. These are like glorious in their weirdness.
It seemed to be it was a combination of a monster comic along with, let's say you had a bad version, if you ask me sometimes, of the Avengers, and you threw in monsters instead of superheroes.
Yeah, because they were because of Doctor Strange. You know, just think of it. Iron Man was the doctor. You know, he was the wizard of Avengers, so it was all science based. And then Doctor Strange is the wizard of the Defenders. And it's all magic. So it was all like demons and crazy stuff from other dimensions. You know, it really was a bizarre comic. Like
Defenders number 16 is a key issue for the entire Marvel Comics, if you ask me. A lot of people forget that. It's in this issue that the Alpha actually de-ages Magneto back to an infinite, and he has to grow up again.
That's right. That's right. I
which
forgot it.
explains why he is a World War II survivor, and yet in the 80s he's almost a young man.
That's right. Well, my biggest thing with the Defenders is they had to make Doctor Strange so weak. Otherwise, because there's no need for anybody else once you got Doctor Strange.
I always thought, because look, you got Hulk and you have Silver Surfer and you have Doctor Strange. How is this team, first of all, what do you need the other people on the team for?
Right.
And secondly, like, how is this team not overpowered? Because
Well,
they were getting defeated all the time.
If the Defenders debuted in a comic called Marvel Double Feature, Marvel Double Feature 1, 2, and 3 was the Defenders. And the whole premise was, hey, let's put Marvel's most powerful characters and form a team. So it was Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, Hulk, and Namor. And that was the Defenders. That was the most powerful team up that Marvel could muster. And I guess they got tired of it or whatever. Silver Surfer left pretty quick. Submariner left pretty quick. And then Doctor Strange, Hulk, and then they met Valkyrie and all the rest of them.
Nighthawk. I don't even think Nighthawk has any real powers, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he has a motor under those wings that allows him to fly, but he was Marvel's Batman that just never caught on.
It's like, look at issue number 35 here on the left-hand side. That is the weirdest thing. I mean, a guy with tentacle arms and crow's feet and unicorn horn.
It's Chondo, and that's his name, Chondo. I'm sure that means something dirty in a foreign language. Yeah. And it always bothered me because they're like, Marvel's non-team. What the hell is a non-team? We're a non-family. It's not. It doesn't mean anything. A non-team. There's obviously a team. How could they not be a team? It's like three friends hanging out all together. Hey, you guys are best friends. We're non-friends, but you're hanging out and drinking coffee together, talking every day. Yeah, but we're non-friends. No, you're a team. Just. It's just one of those silly things. Look at these Jack Kirby covers. I loved Hellcat. I always liked Hellcat. Oh,
I'm going to jump forward because there are some really, like, these covers are the ones that I remember.
Yeah.
There's like painted covers almost sometimes.
Yeah, they were really trying hard to get the Defenders not to be canceled.
152 was the last issue.
And it didn't work. George Morales says, wait till you get to issue 82. Go to issue 82. I'm curious what happened in 82.
Right, we'll go back to 82.
These to me are like the classic Defenders. I bought these off the spinner rack. But this comic I never collected. I just bought it when I found it. What's an 82?
It's on the left-hand side. Wizard Death.
Yeah, George, did something happen in here that I don't remember? Right,
I don't remember that issue either.
Yeah. But look at that. It's Doctor Strange, Submariner, and the Hulk.
Yeah, it makes little to no sense. Defenders never really made sense. But like I said, when I go to, especially when you had Gargoyle and things like that with Mephisto, I remember 99. Again, you got some weird comics going on there. But these covers, especially these covers here, the last issues, they were amazing. And that's why I bought them, for the darn covers. Yeah,
the covers were good. And that's what they were doing, trying to sell these comics that were just going nowhere.
Moondragon, of course.
That was another character that I just liked.
Yeah, I could not even to this day try to define to you what Moondragon's powers are.
She's telepathy. I forget if she has telekinesis, but she has telepathy. She has like total mastery of her body, and then she's martial arts. So she's mental and martial arts.
Who's is that on the right hand side? Oh, what's his name off the top? I can't remember.
What, 135?
What's that? 130. Yeah, 135.
On the right hand, that's Iceman and the Beast.
No, the artist is that.
Is that Bill Sienkiewicz?
Yeah, I think it's Sienkiewicz. Although I got to say, John, here's a funny thing that I wanted to, now that we're looking at these and see an Iceman in the background. There is, I can't remember what it is. It's like there was a magazine, an X-Men magazine that came out during the 70s, late 70s. And I don't know, it was like the Amazing X-Men or something like that. And it was in those issues that, I don't know if you'd call them canonical or not at the time that they were coming out, but it used to be that Iceman, of course, was just covered in snow. But in those issues, which were like black and white magazine, they made him actual ice. He was actual ice, like made of ice.
Yeah, you could see through him. It had Jean Grey on the cover.
Yes.
Bizarre Adventures, I think it was called.
That's what it was.
Yeah. I don't know where, but I have a box of Marvel magazines. I don't remember buying them. Did somebody drop off? And that's in there. I haven't read it yet. I kind of forgot about it. Also, I meant to say issue 91, not 82.
Okay, we'll go back to 91. Let me see. Where am I?
He's just leading us on a wild goose chase.
Let's see, 133.
Yeah, the Defenders pretty much became X Factor. Yeah, they were the original. At one point, it was Iceman, Angel, and the Beast. And then.
Oh, Hellcat. I think he was leading you to a Hellcat issue.
Oh yeah, Hellcat sword fighting Valkyrie. Look at number 1, Mandrake. Is that the name of that character? The monkey guy?
I don't remember.
Yeah, Mandrake, and his power was he had control over women. So he had like mind control over women. Yeah, I got to get to bed too. It's 10:30.
Yeah, it is. We've been streaming. We've been going for an hour, so I'll leave it at that. If you want to take off, John, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just going to shout out the last people in the chat here. Alessandro is here, and he says, "RJ, what do you think about the so-called comfort characters?" I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Quite honestly, Alessandro. We'll give some attention to the chat here.
Yeah. Mandrill, yeah, that's the name of that character. I always hated that character. Then he always teamed up with Necra. No, Nightshade.
Baz.
Yep, Heroes TV show. The last season I hate watched, and I said I'm never gonna hate watch anything again.
It's funny because I think in Heroes, there's a guy within Heroes who reads Marvel comics at the time. It's the time of the Red Hulk, basically first came out, because he goes into the future and he's like, what the heck is this? The Hulk is red. Anyway, I think we're all going to take off and get ourselves to bed. So thank you very much, everyone, for showing up. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to have an outro tonight. I have 25 people in the chat. Thank you very much, everyone, especially the regulars, for coming time after time to listen to me and occasionally John just talk about comics and have a random stream about things we want to talk about. So
thanks a lot, everybody.
All right. I'll see you all later.
Bye-bye.